Yeah, let's get to Rockets Warriors Game 3. Jimmy Butler was out this one. You'll see him sitting on the bench with that gluteal contusion. We're going to start in the third quarter. Warriors trail 4. Stephen Curry. Yep. Hump fake. Do you see how he let that guy fly by? See ya. Warriors down 1. A little shimmy, of course. Under 5 left in the third. Warriors down 3. Stephen Curry once again. A little floater plus the foul. Look at this move by Curry. And then the dance move, that's what I'm talking about specifically on the floor. Next, Warriors possession. Curry, once again, drains another 3 off the screen. Warriors now up 2. You go to the fourth. Halfway through, it's a 2-point game. Dylan Brooks nails a 3, puts the Rockets up 1. 5 minutes left in the game. Warriors up 1 now. Gary Payton looking shifty himself. Warriors go up 3. Just over 4 minutes left. The Warriors now up 1. Curry to Payton for the corner 3 bucket. Warriors now lead by 4. Under 4 remaining. Payton into the paint. Look at how easy that was. Oh, Gary Payton Sr. is there too. Loving his son's performance. Over 3 remaining. Warriors up 6. Just in Jalen Green's face. That's embarrassing. Pull up. You can't guard me. Curry had 36 points, 9 assists, 5 3-point field goals. But after the Warriors win, 104-93, look at Draymond Green and Jalen Green. Just a green on green action there. Warriors still get the dub. All right, we're back with Quentin Richardson. What impressed you most about Stephen Curry's performance last night?
It wasn't the shot making. We've seen Steph shoot the ball from everywhere, from all over the world, and make crazy shots. It was the way that he stood through and battled through the defense. He had taller, more physical, stronger guys chasing him. He was getting doubled. He was getting blitzed off of pick and roll. Look at the action that he was demanding. He was demanding so much attention and so many eyes on him. I felt like the best thing he did was just fought through it. I haven't seen him have to go through that type of physicality. He was being held. He was being grabbed. That was a masterclass in movement without the ball and just fighting through all of that contact.
Yeah, and he was having fun while doing it. But here's the thing. No other players scored more than 17 points. Can they rely this much on Stephen Curry and still win the series?
It's not ideal. I usually would say no, but I mean, when Steph is doing things like this, if they get Jimmy back to help that, I think they can.
All right. The Warriors are now 8-3 this season when Steph scores at least 35 points. Game 4 is tomorrow.
There is something about institutional knowledge when it comes to the postseason. The Golden State Warriors showed it, plus 13 in the fourth quarter. They also still happen to have one of the great players on the planet, even at this advanced age. Steph Curry with 36, and the Warriors have taken a 2-1 lead without Jimmy Butler on the floor in their first-round series over the Houston Rockets. That brings us to Playoff Central Live, presented by State Farm. Matt Weiner, Earl Watson, Robert Ory right there. It's a 2-7 matchup. It doesn't always feel like that because you can see the young Rockets kind of learning on the job here in the postseason, things that a lot of these Golden State guys know.
Yeah, but they're still playing against legacy. They're playing against two guys that know to win championships, been in every situation, Draymond and Steph. They're playing against two guys who don't want to give the torch up and do not want to pass it up. And two guys, when you think of Golden State, Rob, you think about offense, you think about threes, think about Steph playing off the bounce, getting off of it, getting it back, but really they define themselves defensively.
Yeah, for me, when you think about Draymond Green finished third and all for Defensive Player of the Year, and one of the things people don't understand about Steph, you get mesmerized by his offense, but he's one of those guys that can, you got a guy like Van Vliet, he can guard. You look at Moody, you look at this whole team, Looney, who I love, who can come in and give you good minutes off the bench. They do so many things because they're a veteran team. They're smart. They know how to put you in a position that you're uncomfortable with. The next thing you got a turnover, they got a fast break. And also, when you play such close attention to guys like Steph, it allows their bench to come out and get like 42 points. So it was just a great game plan.
At one point, Gary Payton II had 9 straight points for the Warriors in that fourth quarter. And the point about defense is a good one. Too often, folks forget how good Golden State has been defensively over this incredible run. They were 7th in defensive efficiency over the course of the regular season, number 1 after they acquired Jimmy Butler. And even without Butler, they were able to get it done and make the big plays in the fourth quarter. How did they overcome Butler's absence tonight?
I think when the bench had 42. You think about Buddy Hield who came off, and you said Gary Payton who had those points in a row. When you got contribution by guys like that you're not expecting, because you know what Steph is going to do, you know what Draymond's going to do, you know what all the other guys are going to do. But that bench with 42 was exceptional. And sometimes you forget about guys like Buddy Hield, who at one point he led the league in three-point buckets made, and then you got guys like Gary Payton who you always forget about. Then you look at it in the book, he's a plus this, a plus that. He does all the little smart things, because when you think about him, you say, okay, he's not going to score. But the fact that you draw so much attention at the other guys on the team, that he's allowed to use his smarts and slip and get easy buckets. So I love the way Payton is playing.
Hield is second only to Steph Curry, by the way, and made threes over the last 5 years. It's crazy that they're on the same roster.
Yeah, it's crazy on the same roster. It makes you defensively. You have to guard the arc. There's no gravity to, dribble drives to the paint. But when we talk about them, we talk about Ron Adams, who put that defense together for Golden State. I played for Ron Adams in OKC. He created the turn in OKC with the Westbrook and the Kevin Durant young group. I was a part of that in the beginning. This is interesting. Previous game, Jalen Green has 25 field goal attempts, 18 from the 3 field goal attempts. Tonight, he only has 11 field goal attempts and only 5 from the 3-point attempt. So they did a great job of defending him, limiting his touches, Jalen Green's, limiting his 3-point attempts, making him play a different type of game, forcing him to take tougher shots, then denying him the ball, being more aggressive, and you've seen at the end still staying chippy.
And there's a lot to be learned for this Houston team. They have a chance to be really good over the next couple of years, but this is incredibly uncomfortable right now for them. They're in San Francisco facing a 3-1 deficit, potentially, if they can't win on Monday night, and maybe Jimmy Butler's back.
With a 104-93 victory, Steph Curry got it going. Hey, when he's off the court, they're not the same team, but he came back, and they are a very different team. 36 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. They did all of this without Jimmy Butler. They got some timely, I think Buddy Hield had 17 points. GP the second, 2. He came off the bench, man, and he was sensational, playing outstanding defense and made some timely threes, and he really closed the game out. Steph Curry is the oldest player in NBA history to have a playoff game in which he scored 30 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists with 5 made threes. Steph Curry assisted or scored on 16 of the 23 points they had in the third quarter. The Warriors did not score a single basket when Steph wasn't on the court in the first half. That just goes to show you just how valuable he is, because he opens it up for so many other people, because you have to double him because he has unlimited range. Quan, you watching this game, and it looked like Houston, like, oh, damn, Houston might go on the road and steal the first one on the road. Playing very, very well. Jalen Green was playing out of his mind. Sengun, DB Dylan Brooks playing well, but he got in foul trouble. He goes to the bench. What did you like about what you saw from the Warriors, and how were they able to pull this out after being behind the majority of the game?
Actually, to be honest, I like the fact that, Steph obviously played great. He's going to have a monster game with Jimmy being out, but man, Buddy Hield and Gary Payton II, man, came up huge. When those guys score the basketball, they become real dangerous, and that's what they need, because Draymond Green, at this point in his career, is not going to score the ball. He's going to do a lot of intangibles. He's going to rebound. He's going to defend. He's going to get some steals. So they got to get scoring for Steph. When Steph, you got to have somebody else that's going to help Steph out, and that's what made it great tonight, to see those guys step up. You never know what's going to happen with Golden State. Steve Kerr's been messing with Kuminga this series too. Hasn't really been letting him play. So you don't know who's going to show up big, especially with Jimmy out. But huge game. And Steph being Steph, that's one thing about, Steph probably can win 2 games in the series by himself. And this was one of them tonight.
Yeah, at this point in his career, Draymond he's never been a scorer. He doesn't really look to score. He's looking to do a great job of handling the ball, setting great picks, rebounding, defending, as you mentioned, and initiating the offense. Gary Payton, the second in the fourth quarter, he had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He was 100% from the floor, 100% from the 3. He played exceptional in the second. When he got in there, he and Buddy Hield, as you mentioned, Twan. Ocho, what'd you like about what you saw from the Warriors?
I mean, listen, I like what I saw from the Warriors. Obviously, Steph did what Steph normally does. But listen, like Twan said, I thought the Rockets was going to steal a game, especially with the way they were playing Steph. They had somebody running, tracking him everywhere, all over the court. Them young boys, everybody over there young. So they trying to set screens and set picks, and they on Steph, and they contesting everything, making every shot difficult all the way up until the half. And listen, just exploded in the second half, hitting a lot of shots. But I think one of the reasons with Jimmy Butler being out, obviously you need a Steph to have a game like this today, and he can go off like this and win a game by himself. He had 36, 12 for 23. But the supporting cast, Buddy Hield went crazy with 17. Gary Payton Jr. contributed as well with 16. And the Warriors bench outscored the Rockets 42 to 31. And that was a major factor in why they were able to win this game.
Well, it looked like they started out early, Twan. They was blitzing him. They was trapping him, getting the ball out of his hands. They want to make him give it up. And if you notice, later in Steph's career, Steph is, sometimes I thought early, he would force the three. Steph doesn't have a problem putting the ball on the floor and going to the basket now, Twan. That makes him dangerous because they've used before, like, hey, nah, bro, we're not worried about you driving the ball, so we gonna hug up on you. Nah, Steph said, nah, he handles too good, bro, because I can put it on, I can go behind my back between my legs and I can finish with either hand. And he's unafraid to shoot that mid-range also. So his game, when he gets that three ball going, when he shoots the ball and he's turning, he's starting, hey, I got something for y'all. Y'all get that up out the net. They dangerous, Twan. They dangerous.
Listen, I just think with Houston, Udoka has to respect the fact that Steph Curry is who he is. Obviously, one of the greatest players of all time. You got to double and take the ball in his hands. You got to make one of those other guys see if they can get 20, 25 points tonight. You can't allow Steph, especially in the game. Once Jimmy Butler was not playing, I would have double Steph the whole game. I wouldn't allow Steph to beat me. I would have seen if Kuminga. I would have seen if Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II. Even though Buddy Hield and Gary Payton II, I thought played terrific tonight. Let's see if they can do it in all series long. I'm not gonna just let them beat me. I can't let Steph beat me. If he has, he's going to have one of those nights where nobody's going to be able to. But you got to flat out guard him and double team him as much as possible and make somebody else beat you if Houston wants to win. Because Houston don't have enough scoring. I love Houston. I love their mentality. I love the way they play. They play hard. But in this league, you got to score some points. They just don't have enough firepower offensively. So if you're not going to be able to score the basketball, you got to defend at a really, really high level.
I think the thing is, Twan, is that they're so athletic and they're used to getting up and down. But come playoff time, they're going to make your ass play in the half court. So you better be able to run some sets. And that's what, if you go back and look at Golden State, look at when they made their run. They were able to run set. Steph is perpetual motion. He's not going to stop. So if you think you got him guarded on one side, you better tell the guy, hey, Harry, come over to you so he can be on his best behavior because somebody's going to set a pick. Because so you have to watch him. You have to keep your eyes on him at all times. Because if you turn your head for just a second, he'll backdoor you, or they're hitting that flare to him to the corner, and then now he's splashing a three in your eyes, and you're like, well, damn. And you can guard good for 21, 22, 23 seconds, and he'll let the ball go, and it splash. And it's so demoralizing when you play defense for that long, Twan, and you don't have anything to show for it. Go ahead, Ocho.
No, I'm going to say the same thing. I think the Rockets did a very, very good job in trying to contain him and do as much as they can to disrupt his rhythm, obviously in the first half. But no one would, even though they have the younger legs, they were unable to continue to do that. Obviously, Steph going off, and at some point, he's one of those players. And no matter what the game plan is, you just hope to contain him because you're not going to be able to stop him, and that's what Young Bull did tonight.
Yeah, the thing is, if he see one or two of them go in, and you can play the perfect defense, and you saw he'll start falling out of bounds and launching the ball. You're like, that ain't got no business going in. That should not have fallen, but it does, and it gives him a jolt of energy. So now you got your work cut out for him because, like Twan say, you might have to blitz him or trap him at half court. You got to make him give that ball up and make someone else beat you. Let's see if Buddy Hield can go get 36. Let's see if Gary Payton II, if he can go get mid-20s. Because I cannot let Steph do what he does and let these auxiliary guys do what they do by adding to that. If you do that, you're asking for a lot. But I agree with you, Twan. I thought with minus Jimmy Butler, I say, you know what? Anybody but Steph. Anybody but Steph. ABS. Anybody but Steph.
And you know what? And I have a lot of respect for you, Doug. I think he's one of the great young coaches in the league. I just got to make somebody else beat me. I cannot let Steph beat me. Once Jimmy Butler puts a DMP and he don't put that uniform on, I'm making somebody else beat me. I just can't do it. I can't see Steph with 37, 40 points and really controlling and dominating the game. I'm pretty sure they're going to look at the film and Udoka's a little stubborn. We all know that. You got to give. I mean, Steph is probably top 10, top 15 player to ever play the game. Let's
Yes.
respect that, and let's double team. Let's respect it
Yes.
and double team them and force somebody else to beat you. You can't just play hard-nosed defense unless you got one of those guys. I know Dylan Brooks is his defensive specialist, and he knows he's tough. But if you don't have a guy that's going to chase and run for 40 minutes, what Steph is going to do, and a guy that's going to have the ball in his hands the whole game, just double team him, get it out of his hands, and make somebody else beat you.
Well, I thought Dylan Brooks got in foul trouble. And the problem is that he knows the type of defense that Dylan Brooks is going to play on him. I think you got to give him a lot of different looks because it's just like anything. You give a guy enough, he'll build up in the resistance to it. And he'll understand, okay, this is how you're going to play me. This is the way you play. Okay, this is what I need to do. So, and once Dylan Brooks got in foul trouble, they tried Amin Thompson on him. They tried some other different guys. But now you let him see a couple of those shots go in. And the NBA is such a rhythm game. A guy that might not be one of these great players, he see a couple of shots go in.
And also too, don't forget to add Golden State at home. So Golden State at home. So you tend to play better. Not only just the role players play better at home, your main guy play better at home. I mean, obviously you want your star to get you a big game on the road, but Steph has huge games in that arena. You got to think about that too, that home crowd too. So I'm just going to try to disrupt them, get them out their rhythm. They're missing a key piece. When they're missing Jimmy Butler, a guy that brings so much to their team, you got to double team Steph. There's no other way that you're going to be able to beat Golden State, especially at home, because those others are going to play better at home. They at home it's kind of like it's an ongoing saying that the others play.
So staying out west, Steph Curry carries the Warriors to a win without Jimmy Butler. Of course, Q, what was catching your attention after that performance?
It was like we talked about yesterday. We knew that Houston was going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at Steph. But Steph, being the chef and one of the greatest ever, he showed up in big-time fashion. You saw what Jimmy Butler said. He said, "Thank you, Batman." Batman showed up and saved the day. Big-time 36. Listen, they guarded him. Some of these possessions were some of the best defense you may ever see on Steph Curry. Amin Thompson was all over him. They sent several guys. They jumped him. They blitzed him. They were physical. They did everything, and Steph still responded at every turn.
Yeah, this was one of Steph Curry's best playoff performances, really. If you look at the level of defense played against him, not having a second option, the fact that, look at the guys who was around him and the way that he basically had that offense on a string, confounding that Houston Rockets defense, confusing them and torturing them. But also, we can't neglect the fact that on the other side of the ball, Draymond Green also put together one of his best playoff performances. There is a huge difference between Defensive Player of the Year and the best defensive player in the world, and that is Draymond Green. He was able to anchor that small lineup in the last 4 minutes against a large Rockets team, and they were a plus 100 net rating in that last 4 minutes, with Draymond being essentially the only big player there. He was boxing out, he was rebounding, he was getting steals, he was blocking anything that the Rockets tried to do. This was a textbook Draymond Green performance. And also shout out to GP2, who was setting those screens for Steph and had wide open lanes and executed in that fourth quarter. The 22 championship Warriors team really showed up last night.
Yeah, you saw it clearly. Gary Payton Jr. with those 16 points, huge as well. Game 4. It's in San Francisco on Monday. Warriors up 2-1. See where this goes, guys. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight here at The Volume. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great weekend. What an incredible night of games that we just were treated to. Jackson and I were just joking before the show started. This is our 8th consecutive night going, and I think we've gone 6 of those mornings too. So it's been like this crazy blur, but at the same time, Jackson says, I'm riding a high from those 2 incredible games, and I am too. It's just so much fun, at least in this time of year, despite the unending train of just incredibly good basketball games. We're going to be breaking down tonight. We're focusing on the final 2 games in the slate. So we're going to be hitting that absolutely bonkers Clippers Nuggets game. And then the Golden State Warriors end up pulling out a game on the strength of their defense against the Houston Rockets. Some key contributions down the roster with Jimmy Butler out. We're going to break those 2 games down from the perspective of both teams. Then after that, we're going to do a mailbag from the chat. And one of the things that I like about that mailbag is it allows you guys to kind of direct into certain parts of these series that you guys are interested in, that you guys want to talk about more. So come into the later portion of the show, drop your questions in that chat. Any other questions you have about these series, any other series around the league, make sure you guys hang out for the mailbag at the end. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss show announcements. Don't forget about our podcast feed. Wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight, it's also super helpful if you leave a rating and a review on that front. We also have social media feeds on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook where Jackson's doing some great work. Make sure you guys follow us there. And then last but not least, keep dropping mailbag questions and YouTube comments so we can keep getting to them throughout the remainder of the postseason. All right, let's talk some basketball. So I was confident coming into this 2-game home set here for the Warriors that even without Jimmy Butler, they should be able to get the job done. Mainly because of two things. The simple fact that Steve Kerr, as he openly said in a timeout in game 1, these guys can't score on us in the half court if we can keep them trapped there. 3 times tonight, the Warriors held the Rockets to 22 points in a single quarter. That is going to keep things close enough. And then at home, I just believe in the Warriors role players finding enough ways to ride the energy of the crowd and find ways to contribute offensively. That's kind of been the story of the Steph Curry era, is especially when they're at home, even when guys are out of the lineup, if Steph's out there and if Draymond's out there, they're going to get enough stops and they're going to get enough advantages to be able to win a game like this. And they were just incredible. We're going to be going down the line here talking about all their individual contributions. I do want to start with Steph, though, because what was actually interesting about this game is Houston controlled it early. And one of the big reasons why was that idea that I talked about with the Warriors role players being able to ride some of that energy of the crowd and their defense to be able to provide offensive punch. That wasn't there to start the game. No one could make a shot to save their lives. And to kind of compound the issue, Steph, for the first, basically till the middle of the second quarter, was just like kind of easing his way into the game, not bringing a ton of aggression. I thought he was coming off of his screening actions, telegraphing that he was looking to pass. He had a couple of turnovers. He wasn't being aggressive enough. And then right around that middle of that second quarter, Steph turned it up. And there's a certain amount of like, even with that level of defensive attention, there is still a certain amount of panic that you can induce by providing the necessary scoring pop. And as we saw in game 1, like Steph, even in this scheme, even with the face guarding, even with the double teaming, even with the grabbing off ball, even with the blitzing of the ball screens, even with all of the physicality, Steph can cut these dudes to pieces. He's capable of doing it. And he demonstrated that in resounding fashion over the course of the last 3.5 quarters of this game. It all just started with turning up his aggression. As he started curling off of screens, instead of curling off of screens and immediately looking to get rid of the ball, he started trying to force the issue a little bit. Jay Billis was talking during the game about how he was like putting on his cape, so to speak, trying to take on multiple defenders, curling those actions and taking scoop shots in traffic, taking floaters in traffic. He started to look to be aggressive for the first 3-point shot, pushing it a little bit further out, taking some more heavily contested shots. He found some ISOs, some isolation situations that he liked working against, like against Dillon Brooks there at the end of the game, that quick crossover into the pull-up 3. And because he brought the requisite scoring pop, 36 points tonight, that is what started to induce the final sequence of the game, which was Gary Payton II starting to get downhill out of keepers and like fake dribble handoffs and slips of ball screens. He even got free on a backdoor cut off of a classic screening action where both guys ended up running with Steph. That comes from the scoring pop that Steph brings throughout the game. 36 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. Like, he has been absolutely fantastic in the 2 Warriors wins in this series. I can't say enough about it. I want to skip ahead to Gary Payton for a second because, you know, one of the things that was kind of standing out over the course of the early portion of the game was nobody really had anything going offensively. Brandon Pajemski had some good looks from 3. He wasn't knocking them down. Jonathan Kuminga, Steve Kerr places a bet on him to start this game and takes Buddy Hield out of the starting lineup, puts Quentin Post in there, tries to set Jonathan Kuminga up with some more cleared side ISOs, and just Jonathan Kuminga couldn't get anything going. He was struggling with the physicality of the situation. The game seemed to be moving a little too fast for him. He wasn't able to get anything moving. And so all of a sudden it's like, what do we have here? And, you know, there were a couple guys who stepped up, specifically Buddy Hield, who we'll talk about in a minute, but one of the things that stood out to me in that second half was Gary Payton specifically saying, I am going to the rim. He was decisive. He wasn't coming off of those fake dribble handoffs or slipping out of those screens, trying to look to pass. He was looking to score the basketball. He went to the rim over and over and over again in that stretch. And like that was such an important bit of rim pressure in a game like this where without Jimmy Butler, it was difficult to come by rim pressure. I thought Gary Payton was fantastic in this game. Finished with 16 points on 7 of 9 shooting, hit 2 massive threes as well. Massive night for Gary Payton II. Buddy Hield, though. It was a little bit of a weird shift in the early third quarter, where when he checked in, where he looked like he was just a little lacking that intensity. But aside from that brief stretch to start the third quarter, I thought Buddy was fantastic all night. Just bringing that requisite level of aggression. Obviously, Steve Kerr was going to have to bump his minutes up under the circumstances. He ended up playing 29 minutes tonight. A lot of situations like that, a lot of post, a lot of Buddy Hield, trying Jonathan Kuminga. They're doing that because they're trying to inject some offensive firepower into the situation, counting on the fact that Draymond and the rest of those guys, Moses Moody, Gary Payton, all those guys, would be able to get enough stops to be able to keep this game within reach. And Buddy, every single one of those 5 threes that he hit was super, super important in this game. He's plus 14, 29 minutes, had 3 steals as well. Big time game from Buddy Hield. Quentin Post had a really difficult job tonight. Sometimes you get handed a job that you're gonna lose, but your job is to just try to shrink that gap as much as possible, to try to lose by as little as possible. I remember I played in this money tournament once up in Phoenix. It was a 3-on-3 outdoor money tournament in downtown Phoenix. And we ended up winning the money, thankfully. And there was a semifinal game where we played, and I had to guard this guy named Michael Craig. And some of you Hoopers might recognize the name. He played at South Mountain Junior College. He played at South Mountain Junior College up in Phoenix, and then he ended up playing mid-major D1 somewhere out in the South, if I remember correctly. But he was just this behemoth of a man, 6'4", 260 pounds of just solid muscle, freaky athlete. And my job in that game, in that 3-on-3, was you're going to lose some battles to Michael Craig. He's going to bully you. He's going to get some layups. You're going to take a bunch of shots to the chest. You're going to be in pain after that game. But all you have to do is just try to not lose by that much. And that was literally the job that Quentin Post was handed tonight on the defensive glass against Steven Adams. He got thrown around sometimes. He gave up some offensive rebounds. He was just his legs were destroyed. He couldn't make a 3-point shot to save his life. He was leaving everything short in his shot-making situations. But he did the job. He won enough of the battles. 9 defensive rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, plus 7 in 27 minutes. Quentin Post took the assignment to just get his ass kicked by the Houston front line tonight, and he stood in there and he just held his own and did his job battling for those possessions. Some nice tap out rebounds too in situations where, other guys were engaged in box outs. I thought Quentin Post was fantastic. And then just the defensive effort all night. I mean, Draymond Green had about as bad an offensive game as you'll ever see him play, making some misreads, some sloppy turnovers, struggling to finish around the rim, blaming it on the refs when he wasn't getting fouled. Draymond had a nightmare offensive game, but he did a ton of damage defensively around the rim, especially to Alperen Şengün. How many times did you see Şengün miss a shot within 3 feet of the rim tonight? Many of those were because of the disruption that Draymond was providing on Şengün's base. He was battling down there and just winning. Again, this is the thing with basketball. Doesn't matter how bad of a game you're having. If it's close late, just make a play. Find a way to make a play. Do something that will help your team. And Draymond made several defensive plays down the stretch of this game. And then, honestly, on the Houston front, there's just too much inconsistency in the form of their shot creation. Şengün kind of got figured out towards the end of the game by the Warriors front line. Jackson and I were talking last night in the mailbag about just the inconsistency with Jalen Green. Jackson and I talked last night. We were like, is it more likely for Jalen Green to score less than 15 points tonight, Or is it more likely that he'll score more than 25 points? And both Jackson and I said he'd score less than 15. He had 9 points and 11 shots in this game. Fred VanVleet hit a couple shots early, but went right back to the same inefficient shot maker that he was in the first 2 games of the series. They just don't have anything that they can rely on offensively. And ultimately, that's what's going to get them beaten this series, is that if the Warriors give a concerted effort on the defensive end of the floor, they're not going to be able to score. And over and over again, they got the stops they needed. The Warriors were able to get the stops they needed to pull this game out.
By then, let's hear from their head coach, Ime Udoka, in San Francisco.
We have a decent enough offensive game. We're in good shape, but the communication with Red's really off ball. I think we did go after Curry, got out of his hands. Knowing who we're rotating to and off of wasn't the best, especially in the second quarter. Gave the lead back.
Coach, I think prior to the game, we talked about the moment and how you said this team just has to kind of experience a game 3 on the road. Having gone through that, can you talk about just the overall experience for them in this moment, in a hostile environment, a loud crowd, everything going on?
I think we handled it fine. Obviously, built the lead early. We're playing good overall basketball. So, they did what they did, went after Jalen quite a bit, and he made the right play, and everybody was making him pay from there. But to your guys' point, the defense, the let up, and letting certain guys shoot it, rotating the non-shooters out of those blitzes was really what allowed them to get back in the game. And so I don't think it was a problem as far as handling it. We got the lead and just didn't maintain it and let them back into 3 at halftime.
Fred had a really hot start there and then scored only 4 points in the last 3 quarters. What were they doing, if anything, to take him out of the game? And why do you think that he hasn't been as much of a scoring factor in this series so far?
Well, they've been going after him and Jalen quite a bit in the pick and rolls. They kind of hawking them full court. When they do put 2 bodies on the ball, we didn't do a good enough job making them pay tonight. As you saw, I think we were 19 for 48 in the paint. That's not good enough. Point blank layups or floaters or making the right read from there. You got to convert those. They did with Payton and Green slipping out, and we didn't.
What was the impetus for a lot of that blitzing and trapping? Do you feel like you can't really guard Curry as much one-on-one?
Well, it's not one-on-one, it's the pick and roll.
The way you want to go about that?
Yeah, we've gone after them quite a bit and make the others have to beat us. When they have certain lineups out there, it's favorable to force it to the other guys and make them beat us. I think Peyton hit a big one tonight when they were up 1, and that's the gamble we're going to take at times. But something we've done quite a bit is gone after him, and it's obviously worked out well enough, and they haven't scored over 100 in a few games.
Coach, the last 5 minutes or so, they're forcing you into a lot of tough shots, contested shots. What did you see on the offensive end for you guys down the stretch where you weren't quite able to score to keep up?
Yeah, they upped their physicality on defense. And then when we did have the good looks, like I said, we missed a lot of point-blank stuff at the basket, little floaters and some layups. And so, they did all game. We did all game. And Peyton and some of their guys rolling out made plays, and we didn't.
Coach, you mentioned the issues that you guys had tonight. Do you feel they're easily correctable as we look ahead to Monday? And did tonight feel in any way like a little bit of a missed opportunity, considering they were without Butler tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we know they're still dangerous without Butler, so that doesn't change anything as far as that. I think it's something we've seen all year. Teams go after Jalen. Obviously, had a big game last game, so we expected that coming in. And when you does his job and has 2 on the ball and gets it to guys, they have to make them pay behind it. So, nothing new as far as that. Like I said, teams have done it all year, and their gamble paid off. We didn't make them pay with that, especially with the paint shots. And so, something you can easily correct is obviously taking care of the ball a little bit better, finding the outlets out of that and making them pay. And it's a gamble on both sides when both teams are blitzing each other. And like I said, their guys made a few more plays than ours tonight.
Good evening, fans. Tonight, it's time to dive into everything that went down in the thrilling Golden State Warriors victory over the Houston Rockets, a game that sealed a 2-1 lead in the first round of the playoffs. Over the next few minutes, you'll get the full story. From the decisive plays to deep dive analysis of the key performers, commentary impressions, and tactical lessons that emerged from this showdown. Get your heart ready, turn up the volume to the frequency of victory, and come relive every moment of this battle with me. Let's go. After 2 tightly contested games in San Francisco, Game 3 brought major excitement to Houston. Without Jimmy Butler, out due to a glute injury, the Warriors had to showcase collective strength and rely on Stephen Curry's brilliance to maintain their series advantage. In the end, the 104-93 scoreline looked comfortable, but the story behind the numbers reveals much more than just made shots. Let's break down, step by step, how Golden State imposed their playing style, built on sharp defense and a courageous bench. Right from the opening minutes, you could tell the Rockets' plan was to lock down the perimeter. Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks took turns applying intense pressure on Stephen Curry, challenging his dribble and forcing sharp cuts. But the Warriors, with their keen court awareness, responded with constant movement, quick passes, well-timed screens from Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson's drives to create space. With 7 minutes left in the second quarter, Curry unleashed a bomb from the left corner, reminding everyone why he's considered one of the greatest shooters ever. Right after, Andrew Wiggins drove inside and finished a stylish layup, exploiting mismatches against the Rockets' lighter forwards. On the other end, Houston responded with a triple from Brooks and a strong drive by Alperen Şengün. The scoreboard kept swinging between slim leads, 24-22, 38-36. But by halftime, the Warriors showed slight dominance in offensive rebounds, thanks to Kevin Looney's relentless effort, and kept control even without Butler. Their strategy of staying patient, waiting for Houston's mistakes, proved key to keeping the game within reach and trusting their second-half strength. Coming out of the locker room, Houston tried to push the pace, but struggled against Golden State's tempo. Just 2 minutes in, Curry caught the ball beyond the arc, faked out the defender, and drilled a confident 3. Just the beginning of a true showcase. Shortly after, in transition, he drew contact and floated one in, plus the foul. Draymond, the defensive maestro, kept switching matchups, chased Green beyond the perimeter, and intercepted mid-court passes to spark fast breaks. In one such play, a pinpoint pass found Thompson coming off a screen, and he nailed the shot to tie it up at 68-68. With 4 minutes left, Houston's defense tightened up, but Curry simply danced around the blitzes, long dribbles, smart spacing, and mid-range jumpers. When the clock hit 2:30, his 28th point gave the Warriors the lead, 75-72. Golden State ended the third quarter with momentum and confidence heading into the final stretch. However, the final chapter opened with a quick exchange of buckets. Green hit a pull-up 3, but Wiggins countered with a drive to tie it. That's when the bench stepped up. Gary Payton II and Buddy Hield, both known for explosive cameos, combined for 5 consecutive baskets, sparking a 12-4 run that silenced the Rockets' crowd. Payton II, with relentless movement, snagged 2 steals and raced coast to coast, while Hield drained a deep 3. With 6 minutes to go, the scoreboard read 89-82. Minutes later, Curry returned to the floor to shut it down. A tough fall-away jumper, followed by a sweet assist to Looney under the basket, the final blow to Houston's resistance. Golden State's guerrilla defense remained rock solid, shading every move, providing constant help, and cleaning up defensive boards to seal the win. Even missing one of their key leaders, the chemistry between starters and bench players showed this team's rare depth. Curry went beyond his 36 points, 9 assists, and 5 threes. He was the emotional anchor. When the team wavered, he set the pace. When the bench slowed down, his drives drew double teams and opened up space. Even more important was his off-ball movement, a story of its own. He weaved through screens in every direction, lured defenders out of position, and used body feints to open lanes. Observers noted he was grabbed and knocked down multiple times, yet always bounced back with a smile, showcasing maturity and emotional control. In the locker room, teammates praised his silent leadership. Just a look or a quick cut is enough for everyone to know the next move. In short, Curry proved, even at 36, that he is the driving force of a team chasing its 5th championship. The 42 bench points were critical. Beyond Payton II, 16 PTs, and Hield, 17 PTs, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and Andre Iguodala each made key contributions. Each brought distinct strengths, speed, catch-and-shoot accuracy, and defensive experience. This kind of deep rotation is vital in the postseason, when physical wear and locked-in defenses become major factors. Being able to maintain intensity and rhythm without sacrificing quality makes the Warriors a tough matchup for any deep roster, something Houston is still building toward. Houston showed growth, but lacked defensive flexibility. They stuck to a zone defense against Curry, a shooter who ignores boundaries. The solution lies in targeted blitzes and quicker defensive rotations to force other players to make plays. Offensively, Houston's game plan leaned heavily on outside shots and isolated drives. To truly compete, they need to diversify, push the pace, use multiple screens, and run pick-and-roll actions to exploit mismatches. Şengün, for instance, showed talent inside but faded once double-teamed. Moreover, the absence of a true playmaking guard, like Butler, left them without proper game reading. Going forward, they'll need backcourt stability and the ability to create perimeter advantages. With the series heading back to San Francisco, Game 4 promises intense drama. Jimmy Butler is working to regain form, and if he returns, it could shift the balance. But if Golden State maintains their April form, Curry and his crew will be more confident than ever. The big question: can Houston adjust their defense, particularly their rotation system and offensive rebound control? If they manage to neutralize the Warriors' bench and limit the ripple effects of Curry's penetration, they'll have a real shot to tie the series. From a probability standpoint, Golden State is favored, 70%, but the gap isn't insurmountable. Home court advantage and an energized crowd are key factors, as is the learning curve of a young squad growing with each minute. So, what did you think of this clash? Will the series end in 5 games, as the most optimistic Warriors fans predicted? Or will we witness a heroic Rockets comeback? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss Game 4 coverage. Here at Channel Name, we bring you everything firsthand, with exclusive analysis and that special passion only basketball can inspire. Until next time, let's chase that 5th title together.